All right, Coach, just go ahead and recap Saturday, and let's look forward to Northwestern State this week.
Well, of course, we had some opportunities in that game. Like I said, afterwards, and we didn't execute. And, it's a shame because we had some plays that was open. We had a chance to get probably about 3 to 5 touchdowns out of some plays, and it didn't happen. And it's part of football. Sometimes you got to regroup quick. You can't let one loss lead to 2 losses. So we have to regroup. We haven't played well on the road yet, but hopefully this week we'll go play at Northwestern State. Hopefully we play well, and looking forward to get back, on the football field. Of course, it's always a long week after a loss, and it seems like after a big win, it's a short week. So we'll get back at it today and get the kids back excited again and feeling good about themselves. And that's the most important thing, is that they have confidence going forward. So
you met with them yesterday. What was the mood like?
The mood was good. They know we had a little film, a little cut up of some missed opportunities, lack of execution, and some disciplinary stuff. Hitting a guy late after a block punt kind of cost us, negated kind of some yardage, and then we had a big pass play, and we ended up making a blocking away from the play, hit a guy, that wasn't involved with the play. So just some of those penalties that we're getting that can be, that we don't need to have added on or taken away, I should say, from some good plays. So just a learning experience each and every week, just trying to get better. And right now, still sitting at the top. We control our own destiny. So that's kind of the motto for the week, is that we still got a chance at this thing. We can control our own destiny. We don't need nobody else to help us. We just got to help ourselves.
Coach, does it feel like, in a way, the playoffs have already started? I mean, you gotta win these last 2 to get in, or to assure yourself of getting in. So does it feel like that?
Yeah, it does. It felt like that last week to me. I felt like we needed to win last week, so it set ourselves up to at least win one of the next 2. If we, of course, would win the next 2, we wouldn't have shared with anybody. But definitely now, it's a do or die thing that we have to win out in order to win a piece of the conference championship. So yeah, it's that way. But each and every week's kind of the same. It's just a little bit more maybe attention to detail this week on the kids' part and our part. But we haven't neglected anything. It's just it's a little bit more urgent, I guess I should say, this week.
What Northwestern State, obviously the record 3-6, but they've been able to put numbers up in a lot of games. Just what challenges do they present to you?
There's a big wide receiver, especially the kid that transferred from LSU, number 1. I mean, he's got a big catch radius, a lot of back shoulder throw stuff, and one-on-one coverage. They're gonna, there's no way you can double a guy and help support the run. So there's going to be some one-on-ones that's going to happen, and we're going to have to try to win as many as he wins. And it's going to be a big challenge, but I think our kids will be up to it, and we're going to do a good job of this week of game planning and try to get them in good position to make some plays.
How are you in quarterbacks? Both of them got hurt last week. Do you know anything?
Both of them are healthy. Both of them will play. Yesterday, we had a walkthrough. We did some things, and Dr. Murphy's said both of them was going to be all right. So, yeah, they looked better yesterday than they did in the game, to tell you the truth.
So will it be Cody starting, or is that?
Yeah, it'd be Cody.
Okay.
It'd be Cody starting, and Cody kind of got dinged up a little bit with his shoulder, and he had to leave the game, but he came back. Of course, James went out with a leg injury, but he's okay as well. So yeah, we'll go back. We're gonna have Cody in the game.
Were you close at all to putting in the freshman?
No, the freshman's not ready. He's not taking enough reps at practice. It's hard to practice, 2 quarterbacks, much less 3 and 4. And know exactly what we're doing. But he's down there with him. I mean, he could get you out of a game, but I don't know if he could take on that big of a responsibility. And I wouldn't want to put him in that. That wouldn't be fair to him. Matt Keller's a third-team guy, which would, finish the game if something like that would happen.
Coach, Northwestern State has had 2 pretty big comeback games, especially in the fourth quarter. They've had 36 points over the past 2 games. I mean, talk about what kind of a challenge DWA is in for this week.
Well, they storm back in every game. They're very resilient. They get themselves back in games, and they've been in a lot of close games, and they're scoring some points, finding a way. Defensively, they've cut some guys loose, and they've kind of been hit with some big plays on the defensive side, but they are tied in the nation for the most turnovers. So we got to make sure we secure the ball this week, and if we do that, we have a chance, of course. But they present some problems. They do. They play extremely hard, and they're a lot better than 3-16, just like everybody else in this conference is.
Also, what I thought was really interesting about them is the past 4 weeks they've started 4 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare for something like that?
And they had some injuries themselves, and the offense changes a little bit, but not too much. So they've kind of gone through some guys. This guy here that's played last week, we expect him to be the starter, of course. But there's one guy comes in, he's a little bit more of a wildcat guy, so you better have a wildcat defensive package for him. But if the starter gets hurt, then he's the starter. Then you really don't have a wildcat package because you've got to play regular defenses because he runs the whole offense. So presents some problems when you don't know who you're going to face. It really does.
Coach, what do you think about the Southland Conference this year? I mean, you got about 7 teams within a game of each other at the top. Just what's your thought on just how crazy the conference has been this year?
A lot of parity, there's not a clear-cut team that's dominant, and people lose on the road, so people are playing good at home for the most part. And, you got some people who can score points. Abilene Christian, Incarnate Word, Northwestern. Sam scored some points. Of course, Nichols does a good job. And, we're one of the teams that play defense, but, I mean, you got to negate that. You got to score some points yourselves to be in it because you can't just shut people out because of what they're doing. But, there's a bunch of teams all thrown up in there, and anybody can beat anybody. It's kind of matchups between teams right now, I think, is probably the X factor is who just complements, who kind of, compares to the other in certain categories. And it seems like that's how people are upsetting other people. It's just matchups.
Do you think, or do you realize that you guys probably have to win the conference, and if not, like there is a possibility you could get left out? Because it seems like because the conference is kind of everybody's beating each other, that it could end up being a one bid league.
Whew, I know, it's wild, especially for going 9-2 last year, and you got too many teams with too good of records. Now you got so many teams with not good enough records because there's parity. So last year, of course, there was a top portion and there was a bottom portion of our conference. And they said that the bottom was too low to us to get 4 teams in. Well, now everybody's grouped together, 7 of us. So, I mean, I don't know what that means. So we got to do what we can do, and that's try to win this thing out, and you guarantee yourself in the playoffs if you do that. So that's what we're preaching. That's what we need to do. I mean, every year, we want to win conference and get in the playoffs and try to win some games. And so we just take it one game at a time, and that's all we can do at this point. Can't worry about the future, just worry about each and every day. That's what we're trying to focus on Tuesday today.
And really, if you look at everything around the country, it's the same way. James Madison has lost 3 games already. Who would have thought that? In the Colonial, so it's not just the South. It seems like there's a lot of parity in the country.
There is, and I don't know what the reason is for that. It's just I have no idea. But this league is a lot closer than it has been, and you start off the year and Sam Houston's picked to win it. Nichols and UCA kind of back and forth who's 2 and 3 and we're 4. Right now, Sam and UCA aren't even the top 3 that's tied. It's us and Nichols and Incarnate Word. Who would have thought that? So you never know. That's why you play the games each and every week, and that's what you do. It's what you do as a coach. What you do as players. You gotta get ready to play.
Northwestern's coming in and giving up almost 500 yards a game. Incarnate Word was the same. Southeastern was the same. I think this offense is ready to expose a defense like that.
Man, I don't know. We'll just try to show up at the game, have a good game plan together. I know one thing, when we have some opportunities to make plays, we need to make the plays, and when we have certain situations in the game, we need to make the right calls in those situations. And it's a little bit of everything, but we've had some moments that we could have capitalized on last weekend, we didn't, but that's behind us. We got to move forward. The kids know it, coaches know it. It's hard loss, but we got to get over it quick because 5 more days we'll be playing another game.
It seems like every week we talk about BJ Blunt, another outstanding game. This guy just seems to be going every getting better and better.
Yeah. We had 3 NFL scouts in this morning. had a guy from the Saints and had 2 guys from the Colts. And I don't know, it's starting to get a lot more people coming down here looking at him. The word's getting out, what kind of player he is. And, everybody's talking the same thing, that they would think he'd be a great special teams guy. And a lot of times what guys don't realize is to make it on NFL teams, you have to play special teams. Zach Bronson was that way. Zach, of course, went to the 49ers, and he didn't get cut because of special teams. And that's the way to make it, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because it's going to probably take you a couple years to start. You might have to go to your second contract before you start on defense, especially coming out of FCS. So unless you're at them really big programs and you're a 5-star and you've got a lot of notoriety of being All-American, you get drafted high, all those other level guys, you better play special teams, because that's how you're going to make it. And that's what BJ's willing to do.
Some outstanding players that come out of here. Where would you rank him?
You've got to put him up there as one of the better linebackers that's come out of here. When you say that, you're talking about Terry Irvin and Charlie Aro and Vince Landrum and some of those guys. I'm not saying he's them, but man, he's right there in the same conversation. When you're talking about making 20 tackles a game, 17 tackles a game, 4 tackles for losses, 2 and 3 sacks a game, and those things, and he just keeps showing up and he keeps playing his motors high. He's up there with some of the best that's ever played here, in my opinion. Vince, of course, was an NFL guy who broke his neck. Terry got drafted, was an NFL guy. Charlie didn't test well, but Charlie's play was as good enough to play in the NFL. I mean, he's right there with those 3 guys. So,
I don't know the word, I don't want to say impressed, but when you look at this season and the fact that the team is in the position that it's in to win the conference, and statistically speaking, the offense is, kind of is closer to the bottom of the FCS. Just what do you think of that? What does it say about your team that, despite that, you're still in the position to, win the conference, get to the playoffs?
Well, I think if you look at that, if you look at stats alone, you see the disparity between 2 sides of the ball. But the missing thing is we've done really good on special teams this year. And we've been able to flip the field. We've had some big returns. We've had some block kicks. We've covered really well. So there's different facets of the game, but I think our team is tough. There's a lot of those games that our offense necessarily didn't put up a lot of yards, but they did the things they needed to do to win, especially at the end of the game at Nichols, at the end of the game at SFA, at the end of the game at UCA, which were big wins for us, Abilene as well. And, we've done enough to win. And so I think we have a mental toughness when our back's against the wall. Up to this point, that's where we've been. We haven't played well when we've had a little bit of leeway. And so kind of a step on their throat, stay on their throat type deal, meaning when we come off of a big win, the next week hasn't been one of our better games. So hopefully this week we do what we've been doing. After a loss, we rebound. You can't let one loss turn into 2. So you can't have a hangover with that. So if we can get this win and come home and play in our backyard, you can't have it better than that. You have a chance to win on your field and, just let it all hang loose. But we got to win this week to put ourselves in that position. And, hats off to our players for hanging in there to still having a chance at this point in the season.